International astronauts and cosmonauts, all members of the Association of Space Explorers, gathered in September 2008 at the University of Washington in Seattle for 2 panel discussions: International Space Programs Review and Human Health for Long-Duration Exploration. This program is part of a series featuring Paolo Nespoli, Italian astronaut, and Akihiko Hoshide, Japanese astronaut, reviewing their country's space programs.
Good morning. My name is Phyllis Wise, and I'm the provost here at the University of Washington. And I want to really welcome you here to the 21st Planetary Congress. We are thrilled to have you here, excited about the work that you do, and really want to have the connections between the University of Washington and you even better. Your work has led to such a better understanding of space, of the atmosphere of our environment, and have developed so many international collaborations that have helped this work go forward. The UW is deeply connected with space. As the home of Boeing, we have been very, very interested in the development of flight and the technology that goes behind that. There are at least 8 different UW graduates who have been involved with NASA space flights, the latest of which is Greg Johnson, who will be piloting the last shuttle flight to the Hubble Space Telescope, and that is scheduled to take off in October, on October 8th. So many of our children and young people, some of whom are sitting here in the audience, dream of becoming astronauts, and we hope that the training and the exposure to the work that you do will encourage them even further. Our departments of astronautics and aeronautics, astronomy, atmospheric sciences, and earth and space sciences are proud contributors to the work that you do. And so I also want to recognize Bonnie Dunbar, the chair of the Washington State ASE Coordinating Committee, who has made sure that these days here that you will spend here are good and productive for you. I just want to say that I know that some of the participants are stuck in Houston, but I'm sure that this Congress will be very, very rich and very important to your continuing collaborations. And what I'd like to do now is introduce the leader, the panel leader of this discussion for you today. Dr. Ehard. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Weiss. Let's switch to the next speaker, and here I have the pleasure to have Paolo Nespoli from Italy. He's an ESA astronaut. He's a major of the Army Reserve. He's a master parachutist, married, and enjoys scuba diving, piloting, computers. He has a Master of Science degree in aeronautics and astronautics. One space flight, a very recent one in 2007, STS-120, and he delivered with his crew the Node 2 to the ISS. And currently, he's in post-mission phase at JSC. He's Italian, and so is greeting home when going for a space flight. He's a great communicator, I can tell you, in constant contact also with students and outreach. And it's not true what is implied by the next photo that the reason of this space mission was to deliver the largest ever pizza into space. It's rather one of the key elements of space station that he delivered. Let's find your talk here. Okay, all yours.
Thank you, Reinhold. I wanted to talk in Italian here, but it was going to create a little bit of technical problems, so I decided to stick with English. Sorry if I will butcher your language a little bit once in a while, but we'll go through together to this presentation. The subject of the presentation is recapping a little bit what happened in the last year for what concerns ESA, the European Space Agency. If you look at my shirt here, I have, thank God I have 2 hands because I have 2 owners here. The European Space Agency, I'm a staff member of the European Space Agency, and I am originally from Italy, so I'm an ESA astronaut of Italian nationality. That is the correct pronunciation. And so since 1998, there are no more national astronauts in Europe, but there is a unique European astronaut corps. And so we have our flight opportunities, our activities they are mostly channeled through ESA, the European Space Agency. We still have some little agreements. For example, Italy has a direct agreement with NASA to fly Italian astronauts. And it gets a little bit complicated now because they are Italians, but ESA, so it's a little bit of a challenge to put this together. But definitely we are going through and coming up with Europe as a unique nation. And so what we have done in the past, we left over. Reinhold tells me that last year, it was just after Thomas Reiter, a German, flew on Expedition 1213, and this was discussed already. It was called the Astrolab mission from the European name that was given to it. And after that, Christer Fuglesang from Sweden flew in December 2006. It was called Celsius, or STS-116. That was the original name. So we always somehow try in Europe to confuse things by giving a different badge or a different patch, a different name, but essentially it's what we do. As Canada, Europe does not have its own transportation vehicle, so whenever we want to have astronauts in space, we need to have agreement either with the Russian Space Agency or the United States. So both of these missions were done in the framework of the cooperation with the United States. And yes, Katie Coleman before talked already about what happened in space. It's very complicated these days. It used to be relatively simple. A shuttle goes up, shuttle goes down, Soyuz goes up, Soyuz goes down. But now we have this all complicated things going on. And so I decided to start with Expedition 16, which I guess what you see there, Expedition 16, 10 October 2007 to 19 April 2008, that's the times in which Peggy Whitson, which was the commander, was in space commanding this station. And as Katie said, the guys on top kind of rotate through the shuttle. The Soyuz is a fairly stable vehicle. I have to say that the Russian Space Agency decides the launch dates very well in advance, and if they say launches 2:30, 4th of April 2008, at 2:30, 4th of April 2008, it could be a snowstorm, it could be whatever, and it launches there. A shuttle is a little bit more complicated. Usually the launch dates tends to fluctuate a little bit. Any minimal I think it influences a little bit the shuttle, and that's why it's always very difficult to plan for the duration of this rotating shuttle crew members. Anyhow, Peggy Whitson and Yuri Malinchenko at the bottom were the two that stayed up for the whole period, and they influenced everything that happened essentially in the last 7 or 8 months. And a lot of things happened, as we already saw. The first thing that, Peggy launched, and a couple of weeks later, here we go, STS-120, 23rd of October to 7th of November of last year. The bottom left is the NASA patch. The upper right is the Italian patch designed by one of the famous car designers in Italy, Giugiaro. It looks more or less the same. This is a yellow thing going in space towards space station and eventually leading to Moon and Mars that you can see in both patches. The STS-120 was the 120th mission of the space shuttle. Just by coincidence, it's not always the case. This was the shuttle flight manifest as it was in May 2007. This one at the left mission on the shuttle. You know that the shuttle is supposed to finish by the end of 2010, the fiscal year 2010. There are not that many missions left. All of these missions are now dedicated for the assembly of the space station. And NASA did a very good job in trying to compress as much as they could into each one of this mission, bring up maximum quantity of hardware and squeeze in all sorts of activities. So each one of these missions is very complicated. I mean, 4 or 5 EVAs. It's a very interesting thing. There's not a free moment up there. We trained for about a year, did the usual things. Upper left is the neutral buoyancy laboratory, or neutral buoyancy facility, actually, at Johnson Space Center. We had 5 EVAs, and so we performed several training up there. There is a virtual reality laboratory, did a little bit of training there, interesting. We did a lot of robotics operations. We need to learn how to operate these Canadian arms, which are pretty interesting. And then we need to learn how to work together. This is also pretty interesting. You need to go in space with 7 people, and you use all 7 people. Very, very seldom you do something by yourself, because you might end up doing something wrong. So we did all of this, but it's interesting how we started the training in August 2006 with this exercise in Alaska. NASA sent us up there, the whole crew, plus the flight director. First time it was, we added a flight director there. 15 days or 12 days in the wilderness, camping. It was August, but as you can see, it was not too warm, and we had to flip the kayak to make sure that we were able to come out in case of any problem. And this was, let's call it a team building exercise, and it was very good. I think it's a very good thing, because you start in this way. Yes, you have worked with these people. You have been in simulation once in a while. You flew with them, T-38 sometimes. But really, when you are in this kind of situation, in an unfamiliar environment, moving 7 or 8 hours per day in stressful situation, then is when your inside way comes out. You're being an animal in a certain way, and everybody says this is very much what happens in space. I mean, everybody's running, everybody's focusing on what he's doing, everybody's tired, different situation. It's very good exercise, and by the way, this is done by NOLS, National Outdoor Leadership School, and is available for everybody. We recommend everybody to do this exercise to explore his inner self. The activity we did in space, of course, the major activity was the delivery of the Node 2. Node 2 is an American module, but was built in Italy, and that's why there was an interest of Italy to have an Italian astronaut up there. Brought it up, attached to the station in a temporary position, and then we did a couple of EVAs to move the P6 solar array. We already saw it before. It was up there in the center of the station, kind of unfolded, and then we brought it all the way at the end and tried to deploy it. I say try because one of them came out nicely, and the other one actually developed a couple of tears, and this was a significant moment of the mission, because Peggy and Pam were deploying the solar array, and as soon as they saw the tear, they stopped the deployment. That could have been a very big, could have had a very big impact both on the future of the station, and also, by the way, could have had a problem. We could have had a problem in actually with our corridor to detach ourselves from the station. So it was a big ha-ha moment. Everybody stopped, worked for 3 days on Earth and on space in trying to figure out a solution. This was a little bit like an Apollo 13 moment in which a bunch of engineers sitting at a table in mission control, throwing on the table, this is what they have on board, let's see if we can come up with something. And sure enough, they come up with this ingenious solution, which was to build these cufflinks. We built 5 of them, different length, and it took a full day of building these things with materials that we had on board, pieces of aluminum, cables, tape, The solar array, by the way, is under power, so you cannot switch the power off. And so when you go and work on it, it's like working on a live equipment. We even thought we could fry some of our guys up there. So we needed to be really careful on how we build and use these things. Eventually, coming up with this very ingenious way of grabbing this boom with the station arm, and then we added another extension. I'm sorry, it's a little bit dark here, but essentially we put whatever we could, because it was really in a place it was extremely difficult to reach. Jokingly, I said if we had had a couple of sticks, they probably would have put those sticks with a wire up there to put Scott all the way up there. But it was the repair was very successful. 7 hours and 20 minutes EVA. Scott installed these 5 cufflinks. Down here, you can barely see it, is Wheelock sitting there. He was there for 5 hours, essentially stopped. And you guys have done EVAs. You know that if you don't move, you can cool pretty easily with the suit, but warming up is difficult. And he was freezing to death. I mean, but some moment he said that in order to get a little bit of warmth, he would put his hand toward the mast and feel a little bit of warmth there. But this was a very successful EVA. Was one of the great achievement of last year, and we were very, very proud of being there and being able to do this. Of course, we canceled EVA 5. We had no more time to do it. And when we undocked from the station, here we go, we left the node in its temporary position, attached node 1, and then later on, Expedition 16, Peggy moved it from the temporary position to the final position, moved the adapter that allows the shuttle to connect, to dock, and here we go. So Expedition 16 had a very interesting time. In Europe also, certain things were happening here. Call CC. So Europe started moving up a little bit. We wanted to have our own control center, which is in Oberpfaffenhofen. Not many people can pronounce that. So they decided to call themselves Munich, which is near Oberpfaffenhofen. And so on station, when they need to call CC, they say Munich, right? Right, Gera is the boss of the center down there. So this is a picture of the center here, and it's located in the DLR, which is in the premises of DLR, which is the German research establishment. Pictures inside Call CC. It doesn't look like very much different than Houston or Moscow. It's a little bit smaller, of course, but it has all the functionality, telemetry, and capability of supporting all the activities inside Columbus. It also connects with various centers in Europe. These are more or less the countries that are part of the European Space Agency, by the way, and it's able to essentially manage Columbus up there. And then a couple of months later, after STS-120, STS-122, next shuttle, had also another European on board, actually 2. One was Hans Schlegel, upper right, was a part of the shuttle crew. And then in the center, Leopold Eyerts, France, as part of the increment. And again, it was supposed to be a long increment, turned out to be a little bit less long because of these changes we will see later. STS-122 main objectives, of course, install Columbus, and then start working on it to make it work. You know, when we launch something, we put it up there, it's far away from being able to be used. You need to commission it, and so many activities were done for that. This was a very interesting flight. They had also a lot of EVAs. See, it gets very confused when a shuttle comes up and the station is there. Some people even have to go, cannot stay vertical, have to go in another position in order to fit in there. This is in the Russian part of the space station. Probably they're having a lunch or dinner there all together. This is Columbus inside the shuttle. This is a drawing. And then it was taken with the Canadian arm and gently attached to the station. This is a pretty pretty big pieces of hardware. The tolerances there, it's in the order of less than an inch, and you need to be very careful when you move these things around. But ARM performed very well. The operators performed really well, and they were able to attach Columbus with no problem up there. After that, actually 3 EVAs to put all the equipment outside Columbus in terms of handrails and other stuff. This is Hans Schlegel and his EVA. And also they had to install some of the outside payloads. Columbus is one of the few, well, it's a laboratory, has also external payloads there. This is the commissioning of some of the equipment. Some was done by Hans, and a lot of was done by Leo later. We'll look at it later. When the shuttle 122 undocked, they snapped these pictures, and here you see Columbus up there on the left. So we started this, what it was supposed to be a long-duration mission, which was from 7 February to the 26th of March. Actually, this includes both shuttle flights to bring it up and down. So in order to figure out how long was this long duration, you have to subtract something like 25 days from that date. So it was a relatively short, long-duration mission. And in fact, it was carried up for 122, 3 weeks of stage operation called 1E, first European mission. And then back on Earth with 123, Columbus commissioning, life science experiment, US and Russian system activities, and photo TV education, a little bit of experiments. Columbus commission, it's a little bit, as any laboratory, was a little bit complicated. It started with activation, then it was outfitting, and then eventually they did checkout. It was a pretty involved activity. Leopold Eyatz was fully dedicated to it, but also the crew, space station crew, Peggy, Yuri, worked almost full-time on this. We have several facilities that have been commissioned up there in order to be able to do experiments. And here is Leo. I added everything is under control, and not really. There were some things that didn't really go perfectly, but this is a space business, and that's why we have a control center, and things are going much better now. 123 was the mission that brought Leo down. Again, 5 EVAs, keyboard delivery, a lot of things, another space crew. Every time, different faces. Peggy is always there, and Yuri are always there, but always changes there. And finally, this is the last moment of Leo handing over, that's the crew handover book, handing over the keys of Columbus to Garrett Rismond. That was a pretty intense period, and when Peggy came home, the station had really changed. She had a very interesting stay up there. Something happened also. It was supposed to be before, but then, things changed again. We have ATV. ATV launched on March of 2008. ATV, it's an automated transport vehicle. It's a European vehicle. It can carry actually carried the first one, 4.6 tons of cargo, and has the capability of refueling the station and do reboosting of the station. It launched on an Ariane 5 and flies in an automatic way, so there is no control. The astronauts on board of the station are there, sitting there, watching it with a big, giant red button, and they can push it in case the vehicle does something strange, but that's the only thing they need to do. The initial commission was interesting because they actually did a lot of maneuver demonstrating that the ATV could stop, go back, approach, come back. Was very involved, but eventually, when everything checked out correctly, in 3rd of April 2008, finally docked to the station. And here we see a later picture with all the stack and everything. So inside ATV, which was called Jules Verne, in honor of the French writer that told us what to do in the future when things were not yet possible. They flew some things, including a copy of his book, and here is the crew that worked on ATV showing off these books. Undocked 4 September 2008, so not a long time ago, and there is a center, an ATV control center in Toulouse, so this is done in France now. A little bit, again, a small center, but very good, can essentially do everything that is needed for ATV, and is now planned for re-entry on the 29th of September 2008. We as astronauts are trying to push with our ESA to make this vehicle a full vehicle where we can fly. We don't want to come back this way. It's really not really healthy, but maybe in the future we can have something that comes back and keep us back alive. I'm closing showing you a picture of the current European Astronaut Corps. I think the average age, I tried to compute the average age and I kind of gave up because I thought it was like 71 or something like that. It's not really true, but we are getting old. Last selection was, the last ESA selection one in '92, then national astronauts were included between '98 and 2000. And right now there is a new selection coming up. We are looking for new people. So most likely 4 new astronauts will join us by the end of the year. We have good plans for the future. Christer Fuglesang has already been assigned to another mission on the shuttle. Italy has another flight opportunity on the shuttle, a flight opportunity on a long duration coming up. ESA has already 2 missions essentially assigned on long duration. So there are a lot of activities coming up, and we are really proud of being part of this group of nations going in space. I think, as Chris said, space, and as we know, space, it's a business that is, yes, for going to space, but eventually for making us much better here on Earth, and we are really proud to go into this direction. Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Paolo. And now I leave it to our next speaker to make the impossible possible, to relativistically speed up so that we can at least meet the next time target, which will be around 12 o'clock. I hope we have the time to extend that. For questions, well, we have to use the coffee time in the foyer thereafter. Our next speaker is Akihiko Hoshide, and he's a member of the Japanese Space Agency. He's married, he enjoys flying, all of us do, rugby, sports, traveling. He holds a Master of Science in Aerospace Engineering, and as you can see, he's the youngest newbie we have here, just coming back from his spaceflight STS-124 to ISS, delivery of the Kibo Japanese module. He will tell us about that. And currently he's in post-mission phase at JSC. Well, he's a funny guy, I can tell you, and he enjoys laugh even while stepping into the shuttle. He's critical about food, as you can see. This is the food tasting panel in JSC, and also on board he would not eat everything. And so his crew preference kit was composed of a couple of Japanese-style sticks, and the procedures were written in the traditional style of Japanese poems, which is the haiku, I assume.
Thank you, Reinhold. Before we start, I'd like to start with a presentation with a video that I have. We got up, we launched in May 31st this year, and it was a 14-day mission delivering the Japanese module, the main module. The Japanese module is too big. I'll explain it a little bit later, but we had to go up in 3 separate shuttle flights. My flight was on the second flight, STS-124. And here's us going out, and I should tell this, I'm going to target towards the non-flyers. So here's a helicopter escorting us. It has a big machine gun so that we don't run. And all of you know The shuttle on the day of the launch is a little different. It's pretty much empty except for us and some of the strap-in crew. Here's Commander Mark Kelly, pilot Ken Ham. There's Greg Shamitoff, our station crew. Here's Mike saying bye to his mom. Here's me. And Karen Nyberg asking if she looks fat in that suit.
And while we all tend to live for today, the discovery from Kibo will certainly offer hope for tomorrow. Minasan arigato, ite kimasu. Now stand by for the greatest show on Earth. 10, Avenue. TLS is go for main engine start. 6 seconds, main engine start. 3 coming up.
3, 2,
3 to 100, hang on.
booster ignition,
102,
and liftoff.
102.
Shuttle Discovery.
Auto.
Mate Kudasai. Best
I
of luck
see
to
3
the
at 104.
newest
I see a
laboratory.
command and a roll. Houston, Discovery, roll program. I am LV Lynch.
Roger roll, Discovery.
Houston now controlling the flight of Discovery, a man-made rising sun.
So, what have you have to say? All right, the digitals. Thank you. 0.1, it's coming up at 1.2. All right, that's 2, 3 coming up. Hang on. 3 at 104. Spectacle.
Discovery Houston, go with throttle up.
Roger, go at throttle up. All right. Everything's looking good. There's 90 seconds. Thank you.
And you can see the launch pad down there.
100,000 feet. The limit of the Earth looks awesome, guys. You see less than 50.
So after 2 minutes, the solid rocket booster comes off.
Little bit. Convert. So yeah, it's a good control. Akihiko's dump's going. Looks good to me. I see the dump. Very good. FIT's coming down. I like that. Engine's looking good. You have 3 people on the flight deck. Need to do a big high five.
On the flight deck, except for the commander, everyone else was a first-time flyer.
Oh, there's Miko. 3 lights. Yep. On ET7. Yep. And this one going off calm.
So the external tank comes off, and we're in orbit. So we're going to turn around the rocket ship into a spaceship. Here's Mike and Karen taking some pictures. We're going to be really busy turning it around into a spaceship. No time to take pictures. No time to play around or eat. And as I mentioned, our flight was to deliver the Japanese module to the space station. So first thing is to go chase the target. Our target is the space station. So here's everyone, including myself, working on the rendezvous procedures. And we come up about 600 feet below the space station, and then we will do a flip maneuver.
RPM 3, 2, 1, mark.
And as you know, after the Columbia accident, we need to check the belly of the orbiter for damage. So what we do is do a flip under the station, and the station crew will take some pictures of the tile and make sure everything is in good shape. This is about maybe 10 minutes before docking. The commander, Mark Kelly, is doing some precise maneuver to get into the tolerance.
You might need one more
8
right.
inches.
Stop it. 0.09.
2 inches.
Capture light. And Houston and station capture confirmed.
All right.
All right.
I'll get on with
What's that?
hockey.
Hey. Thanks. It's a lot of training.
As you can tell from his expression, it took him a lot of training, and he did a great job.
Discovery arriving.
And there's I think, a Navy tradition about ringing the bell on the station.
Hey, you looking for a plumber?
His first words were, "Are you looking for a plumber?" And actually, the station toilet broke down before our flight, so we brought up some spare parts for them. There's the station crew members, 2 Russian, 1 American, Commander Sergei Volkov, Oleg Kononenko, and Garrett Reisman. So that was flight day 3, and right after we docked, we had to get ready for the next day, which was the first spacewalk, first EVA. And Mike Fossum and Ron Garan were the 2 spacewalkers for 3 spacewalks during the flight. And as you can tell, Mike is an Aggie. He's graduated from the Texas A&M. The first EVA, there's Mike coming out, is pretty much getting ready for the installation of the Japanese lab. It's still inside the payload bay of the shuttle orbiter. Here's Mike moving along the handrail. And there's Ronnie. And basically what we did was they had to take off some of the covers. Here's some covers on the ceiling surface, which protects the surface from any debris during launch. And as you can tell, it's dark and then it's bright. We orbit around the Earth in 90 minutes, so 45 minutes daytime, 45 minutes nighttime. So you have to have some sun visors as well as lights. This is EVA-2 after the installation of the Japanese lab, and they had to deal with some other covers on the Japanese robotic arm, as well as some interfaces where the logistics module will be relocated. And this was pretty hard, intensive task. These MLI covers are massive, and they had to fold it and put it in some bags. They also had to check some rotary joints for the solar arrays. We've been having some problems with that, so Mike went and took a look at it. Here's Ronnie on the end of the space station robotic arm, and he moved this massive nitrogen tank assembly, which was depleted, and moved it and got a new one and installed it back. So he did this big, we call it a windshield maneuver, going from one side to another. So at one point, he was at the highest point. And you can see from his helmet camera what the view was like. You can see the Earth in the background and the space station down there. There's the ATV at the end. And during this time frame, Karen Nyberg was operating the arm. I was supporting her. And here's Mike checking out the other side of the solar array rotary joints. And we also removed one external camera, brought it back in, and then repaired it and put it back out. So after 3 spacewalks in a course of 3 days, 3 different days, total of about 21 hours altogether. And they come in, and the welcoming committee is there, just to congratulate the great job they did. Apart from the spacewalk, we had 3 arms to operate: the space station arm, the space shuttle arm, and in addition, the Japanese robotic arm. So the first thing was to remove the sensor boom from the station. We had to ask the crew that flew right before us to leave it there because the Japanese lab was too big and it didn't fit in the shuttle payload bay. Here's the Japanese module, the Japanese lab, I should say. And this is about the size of a big bus. And so we had to move it very carefully, very slowly. And once we installed it, we had to move the logistics module, which is maybe a third of the size, and move it to the final location, which is on top of the Japanese lab. And in addition, as I said, we checked out the Japanese robotic arm, which was at the end of the Japanese lab. And we didn't really operate it, but we checked it out so that we can use it for future. Here's us just before opening of the hatch. We had a small ceremony with a Japanese curtain saying, "Eat more chicken." Actually, it said Kibo, which is the name for the module. And it went up. The Japanese lab went up pretty empty because of the size and the weight. So we had some fun, all 10 of us going in, and here's Garrett Reisman, who stayed on the space station for 95.2 days. So he's showing what he learned during that stay. So after about 10 minutes of having fun, we had to go back to work. Here's Oleg and I think myself moving some racks. This was launched in the Japanese logistics module, 8 racks. Each one is about 1 ton. And we had to move it. And on orbit, it's just 2 or 3 crew members will be able to move it around. So now that big, spacious gymnasium is a lab now, ready for science. And as a matter of fact, we did start science in August. One thing we loved about this module was the 2 window, which is looking at the port side of the station. And we can see the Earth and the truss of the space station. And the view, as you know, is just spectacular. All 10 of us had some time to talk to the press. We had the 3 flags, the Russian, the US, and the Japanese flag in the Japanese module. Compared to the space shuttle, the station is huge. Inside, it's about the same size as a jumbo jet. And so, just floating or flying from one point to another is really fun. We all got together for dinner every once in a while. We also had some guests right in the middle there, courtesy of Disney. But all too soon, we had to say goodbye to Greg Shamatov, who we brought up there, and brought back down Garrett Reisman. There's the station crew closing the hatch behind us. It was a sad moment for me.
8.
Physical sep.
Houston and station from Discovery, physical separation.
You guys ready for the theme music?
Yeah.
And this music we actually did play on the flight deck. And Garrett Reisman prepared it for us.
This is great music. Nice choice.
Thanks.
So now we're alone. We left the station behind, but life goes on. So we have to shave. We have to wash our hair. It's easy for me, but for some folks, it's pretty difficult. And here's Ken Ham fixing some scrambled egg. We call this Aki Hockey. And of course, everyone's favorite, playing with the food. Some space rugby. I think it's the first time that a rugby ball flew. And you're supposed to catch it with your mouth only, no hands, but Karen cheats there.
Probably I'm going to hit my head. You're going to hit your head. Hit my arm.
Well, I think you know that space is really a dangerous place there.
No commanders were harmed in the making of this video.
Well, we had some fun, some time to have fun, but it's time to come back home. So in the mid-deck, we're all suiting up. In the flight deck, we're busy getting ready to come back home. And in the mid-deck, we're even busier. After we hit the atmosphere, we'll see some plasma outside. And we'll feel the gravity building back up. 2 sonic booms.
Discovery Houston on at the 180. Roger, on at the 180. Houston, Discovery, runways in sight.
So now the shuttle is a big glider coming back to Kennedy Space Center after our 14 days in space.
Hold it right there. There you go. There you go. Touchdown, 195. Beautiful.
And there's a parachute that slows us down. And we survived a Navy landing, so we're happy. So after 14 days, we've accomplished all of our objectives, and we did some additional tasks and had a good time. So that was STS-124. So a little bit about myself. I was selected by the Japanese Space Agency as an astronaut in '99. That's 9 years ago. And I joined the 2004 NASA astronaut candidate class. I am the newest member of this association. And the Japanese contribution, I'll talk a little bit towards the station program. Basically, the hardware, the people, the mission control center, and training. And as I mentioned, the Japanese lab the Japanese module is really big. We have 5 components: the Japanese lab, the stowage pressurized section up on top of the Japanese lab, the robotic arm, and 2 more elements which will come up in spring of next year. They are the external platform, the exposed facility, which we will have some payloads, and a stowage or logistic carrier for the external platform. And that would go up on STS-127. And as you can see, right now we have the other 3 elements up there, all functioning pretty good. The Japanese lab, the logistics module, and the Japanese arm. We do have a mission control center in Tsukuba Space Center, which is located about an hour drive north of Tokyo. So we do normal operation as well as utilization. So we have the researchers come down and take a look at their experiment. And as I said, we did start our experiment in August of this year. Training. We do have some crew and flight controller training on the Kibo module as well as the HTV. I will mention about the HTV a little bit later. But basically what we have in Tsukuba are like mock-ups of the lab, and we have a small airlock. The EV crew member, the spacewalkers, cannot go out from that airlock. It's just for some equipment to go out and in. But we have a mock-up of that. We have some simulators for the command and data handling, basically using a laptop computer and commanding some functions. And we also have the robotic arm simulator in Japan. Now, we do training for crew, maybe increment crew or the space shuttle crew, but basically all the crew members will be either stationed primarily in the United States at Johnson Space Center or in Star City. So what we do is we have some training support, primarily at the NASA Johnson Space Center, basically a GEM functional simulator in one of the facilities, and also a laptop or desktop-based robotic arm simulator. And just a little bit about science. I know that on Thursday we'll have another session of science, and I'm glad to mention that we'll have a JAXA person for Thursday. So inside we'll primarily target material science, life science, fluid physics, space medicine. And this is a little unique in the Japanese community, but we'll focus a little bit on art and education. Art, I don't know. Don't ask me what kind of experiment they're going to do. Outside, we'll have Earth observation, astronomy, and they'll measure some space environment parameters such as radiation and what kind of debris is floating around. The first experiment was conducted in August this year. A little bit about HTV. Just like the ATV and the Progress, we launch it unmanned. It's a cargo carrier. It launches from Tanegashima Space Center, which is at the southern tip of the Japanese island. And it goes up, rendezvous with the space station. It kind of keeps at a certain distance in front of the station, just below the forward part, and then the station arm will go and grapple and then berth it to the station. And some uniqueness about this vehicle, it has a pressurized as well as an unpressurized portion. So we can bring up unpressurized cargo, such as some equipment or payloads which attach to the outside. Now, I think there's a discussion going on about bringing up some batteries to the space station as well. And for the pressurized carrier, we use the common berthing mechanism. So that hatch is big enough to bring out some rack-sized equipment. Lastly, but not least, about the astronauts, we have 8 astronauts in our core right now. We are in the process of selecting the next class, probably up to 3 new astronaut candidates to be selected spring of next year. So that is all. Thank you very much.